In this presentation, we learn about Spanish superlatives, por se la vi. Before giving an example of what a superlative is, first let's go over your basic adjective and then your comparative form of the adjective. Look at the first sentence. El anillo es caro. The ring is expensive. Caro is an adjective. If you look at the second sentence, we see the adjective again. This time it's in the feminine singular form because it's describing a feminine singular noun. La pulsera es más cara. This form is the comparative form. Now we get to the superlative form. El collar es el más caro. You see the word el in red? That's what makes it the superlative. This is not more expensive. This is the most expensive. Notice that caro is masculine singular because collar is masculine singular. Here's another slide showing how to make an adjective into the comparative form and the superlative form. Look at the first sentence. Esta joya es bonita. In this case, we see bonita is the adjective. It's feminine singular because joya is feminine and singular. In the second sentence, esa joya es más bonita. Más bonita is the comparative form. It's saying that it's more beautiful than something else. But look at the third example. Aquella joya es la más bonita. That jewel is the most beautiful. You see la in red? That makes it superlative. La más bonita. The most beautiful. It's the extreme form. In the previous slide, we saw más as more and la más or el más as the most. Now we're going to take a look at how to say the least. Look at the first sentence. El oro es caro. Caro is masculine singular because oro is masculine singular. Caro is simply the adjective. La plata es menos cara. Notice that we have menos cara. That shows you that it's the comparative form. Notice that caro changed to cara in the second sentence because cara is describing plata. And in the third sentence, el plástico es el menos caro. Notice that we have el in red. That shows you that it's the superlative form because it means the least expensive. El menos caro. A few adjectives have special forms when they get into the comparative and superlative. Take a look at the first example. La camiseta es buena. Buena is the adjective. When you make that adjective comparative, it changes its spelling completely. La camisa es mejor. Mejor actually is a form of buena, but this is the comparative form. It's a special spelling that you need to memorize. If you want to give the superlative form of mejor, you have to put el or la in front of it. La blusa es la mejor. La mejor is the superlative form. Here's another adjective that has special forms in the comparative and superlative. Este color es malo. Malo is the adjective. It's masculine singular because color is masculine singular. Look at the second example. Ese color es peor. Peor is a special form of the word malo. It's the comparative form of malo. In the third sentence, aquel color es el peor. El peor is the superlative form of malo. Notice the el in red. That shows you that it's superlative. Old also has special spellings. in the comparative and the superlative forms. In the first sentence, la recepcionista es vieja. Vieja is old. Vieja is the simple adjective. Notice that vieja has an a at the end. It's feminine singular because la recepcionista is feminine singular. Look in the second example. Nuestro vendedor es mayor. Mayor is another form of vieja, but it has a special spelling because it's the comparative form. And then look in the third example. You can see that vieja becomes el mayor when you're talking about the superlative form. El jefe es el mayor. Notice el in red. That's what makes this the superlative form. The word for young, which is joven, has a special spelling in the comparative and the superlative forms. La médica es joven. Joven is the simple adjective. In the second example, la enfermera es menor. Menor is the special spelling form of joven for the comparative. And now look at the third example. La secretaria es la menor. Is the youngest. Notice that we have la in red. That shows you that this is the superlative form. There's another type of superlative, and I refer to these as extreme superlatives. This is when you want to make an adjective more, for example, more emphasized. So you might say, instead of blue, you might say very blue, or extremely blue, or really blue, or super blue. To form these types of extreme superlatives, you add these endings: ísimo, ísima, ísimos, ísimas. Take a look at these endings. Notice that the first I on them is accented. Remember that. So, if your adjective ends with a vowel sound, just take off that vowel and you add the endings that you want. If you have, for example, caro, which means expensive, take off the O and add your ending. Carísimo. Okay, barata, it's feminine and singular. Take off the final A and add isima. And you're going to get baratísima. In the third example, you have bueno. Take off the final vowel and add ísimos. If you want to make it plural and masculine, buenísimos. Really, really good. And finally, famosa. What if you wanted to make it feminine and plural? Well, you take off that final vowel and you add ísimas to it. So you get this famosísimas, really famous or super famous. Sometimes an adjective ends with a consonant. Well, most of the time what you do is you just add your ending to it as it is. So difícil, you want to make that the extremely difficult form, dificilísimo. It's kind of a long word to say. Try it again. Dificilísimo. Look at fácil. If you want to make that the feminine form of very, very easy, you'd say facilísima. Notice that you have a change in the accent mark. See where the accent mark moves to in both of those examples. Adiós. C'est la vie 2020.